Hello and welcome to the Deep Talk Podcast, a podcast and community dedicated to learning, growing, and connecting more deeply with ourselves and one another. I'm Madison Brandt, your host. Let's get started with this week's Deep Talk. Today I have an amazing guest on, Onyi, and we talk about self-discovery and rediscovering yourself and starting over. Even when we are starting over at a time in our life when we don't want to be starting over. Maybe we are not on the timeline we thought we'd be on. Maybe we're later in life than we'd like to be. But how life still calls us into that, because when it has things for us that we are meant for, there's nothing we can really do to avoid the fact that that's what we need to be doing. And that's what we need to be focusing on and putting our heart into, even if we can't understand why. So she shares about her journey from her younger 20s to her later 20s and the differences, and especially this last year, how she's 29 and she's having this entire life rediscovery moment. She's starting over in a lot of ways, job, where she's living, and how so many times that might be turned into a crisis in our minds and feeling like we don't know who we are and how everything is failing. But she's been taking this experience to actually realizing like she's becoming more of who she is, and that sometimes you have to quote unquote start over to find more of who you are, that it's not necessarily going backwards, it's actually building forwards. And so for anyone who is struggling with a starting over, or feel like you are in the process of kind of reinventing yourself or rediscovering yourself or finding new parts of yourself, maybe you've moved, maybe you're in a new friend group, maybe you started a new job, maybe you're breaking patterns, I get it. It can feel hard. And so I just hope this episode reminds you that you're not alone and that you're doing great and that everything is going to get figured out. And even if you're starting over, that doesn't mean you're starting over. You are starting from experience, and most likely this is realigning you to the best version of yourself. So hope you enjoy this episode and know again, you're not alone. We're with you. What have you been up to today and your day so far?
The day so far, I am
Yes.
currently in a studio space. I've been recording for my podcast.
Yes. She's starting a podcast.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I was telling you earlier, like, you are a hardworking lady. It is not easy to do a podcast. Let me just
It is
tell
a
you that
lot.
right now.
It is a lot. Yeah, we were talking about how yeah, it's a lot, like, not only just, like, the editing and, like, logistics of it and, like, figuring out your space, but also, like, all the internal things of, like, imposter syndrome and, like, just everything. And even just
Yeah.
figuring out, like, what your podcast niche is gonna be and, like, what kind of people you're gonna talk to, like, it's a whole thing.
And your
So
style and getting comfortable in a very unnatural setting and being able to find your style through that. I think I'm going to be very awkward and probably a bit robotic for a while. So,
no. No, I think you're gonna do good. I don't think that's who you are, how you speak at all. Like I think your stuff is so like naturally flowing, and like you're just gonna I think the thing that'll be tough for you just and just for anyone is just figure out like what do I want my podcast to like niche or not niche, but like
yeah.
space to be in. Like you'll kind of probably figure that out as you go. Like what
Yeah.
kind of people do I like talking to best? Like what messages are most important to me? But I don't think you're
Yeah.
gonna have a problem talking or like
Wow. Thank you.
connecting. No.
Thank you. You have unwavering belief in me.
No, I do. I do. Literally, I do. Do you wanna give just, like, a slight intro, not even, like, about what you're doing, but about, like, I guess, who Anya is and, like, the essence you feel like of who you are is or maybe who you've always been?
Straight into the deep end. But this is
Yeah.
how I like this.
Okay, good.
This is how I move through the world. A bit of myself. My name is Ani. My full name is Onyi Ijeh, but we just call me Ani. I'm originally from Nigeria, but I've moved around quite a bit. I'm a third culture kid. And right now I'm in a pretty transitional state in my life that is
Mhm,
reverting me back to so many different versions of myself, but I think is
mhm,
also feeling like a completion or a graduation of sorts that is, you know, I like that you frame the question as who you've always been, is kind of getting me back to that, you know.
mhm,
I'm, you know, I think I spent a really long time in my life being something or someone that I thought that other people needed of me, or I thought that
mhm,
would make me feel safe and protecting myself. And in doing so, I really hid myself and minimized myself to be as small as a paperclip, and maybe people would love me, you know? And I think I'm getting to the point in my life where I have no other choice but to be myself. And yeah, I feel a lot of emotions coming up, my own sort of internal stuff, but I'm learning that who I've always been, because I think about the 10-year-old me who I think I'm reverting to, she knew exactly what she needed to do and she was about it. You know, you couldn't tell her nothing. And things were crystal clear, not because she knew everything, but because she had the like understanding of herself and confidence in herself that over the years through things that have happened have been truly shaken, because I like to believe other people's experiences. I like to listen to how other people are experiencing me, but I didn't know how to do that without internalizing that as what I think about myself or who I am. So a lot of where I am right now is on decluttering what is me, what has always been me, and what is other people's projections of who they think I am onto me that I've taken on as me. And
Yeah.
that's just been like
This
pretty
is like,
fun.
it's the way you're saying it so casually, it's like, that's huge, that's a lot. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a lot. So,
Hmm.
did you grow up in where did you grow up? Like, what's childhood like
Hmm.
for you?
Okay, so I was,
You're like, "Ah!" I'm just, like, curious. I'm like, I need to know where
yeah,
you started, like, your path, like, I feel like it's
yeah,
so, like, rich, so, like, as much as you feel comfortable
yeah,
sharing.
yeah. I mean, I feel comfortable sharing. I was born in Nigeria and I lived there for 6 years. I was born in the village, and then I moved to the city, Abuja. And then when I was 6 years old, we moved to Dakar, Senegal, where I lived for 6 years. So I would say like a good chunk of my like childhood that I remember, that is like,
Mhm.
would say like my earliest childhood, other was really Senegal.
Yeah.
I lived in Senegal for 6 years, and then when I was 12, I moved in with my mom because I hadn't been living with her. So I moved in with my mom and her husband, who so her first husband was an American diplomat. He's now retired, and he was finishing up a post in India. So we went to India for a bit. Then we came to the U.S., got some paperwork. Then we moved to Jamaica, where I spent a year of middle school, and then I then went to boarding school in the U.S. So I would
Wow.
say, although I didn't officially move to the US when I was 13, I think of the US as where I've spent much of my life and where much of my identity has been built since I was 13.
Yeah.
So I think of myself as, in terms of my identity, the most as being American, and then
Mm.
secondly Nigerian, and then everything else. Just because of like those, like from 13 to now really has been defined by living in the US.
Yeah, that's crazy. So when you think of, like, your younger self, do you, like, do you relate back to, like, your 13-year-old self, or do you, like, go even earlier?
I go back to Senegal. Like, I don't know what it is. Maybe one day I'll hypnotize myself into figuring it out. You know what I mean? But there's something about who I was in Senegal that feels like it was fully formed, and then
Yeah.
so much happened, so much trauma happened after that, that
Yeah.
it feels like I had a fully formed self that just
Mhm.
disintegrated up until my early 20s, that I had to rebuild. So when I revert back to 10-year-old, 11-year-old me,
What
in
was
like in
that
terms of essence.
what was that version of you
Um,
like?
she, like I said, like was very focused, very studious, very structured, knew I was unencumbered by a lot of like noise when I did things, and I just went for things without thinking so deeply about it, without infusing so much shame and guilt and
Yeah.
all these things that I came to pick up over time. Like,
Mhm.
I was just so unencumbered by the layers of extra stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I miss her.
I feel like that's so much of our lives is just, like, un like, pulling away, like, traumas or things we picked up, or even, like, stuff even high school, even later on when you, like, are still not
Yeah.
aware in the same way of all the ways that people are treating you and how it leaves imprints on
Yeah.
you and your self-worth and, like, how you
Yeah.
feel about yourself. It's so much to untangle. I feel like it's been a lot of our
Yes.
life's work.
I feel like high school and middle school are so, I mean, we don't talk enough about how, and maybe we do, but for me, what I've been learning is how much high school and middle school really shattered me,
Mm.
and how much then that continued into college, into my early 20s. And then when I started having to kind of go back and figure out what went wrong, what I needed to fix, like I didn't have a lot of answers, but I just had this like deep, like this feeling in my gut in my early 20s that something's something's amiss and I need to figure it out and unclutter it because I'm holding so much shame and hurt and disdain and hatred for myself that can't be normal.
Yeah.
And I read my diaries from when I'm in high school and middle school, and I mean, that girl was not okay. Okay.
Literally, I
It
don't
was
wanna read them. I'm like, "They're gonna be scary, like, really scary." Like
yeah. Like that is not okay. And because I went to boarding school, for me,
yeah.
when I have kids, they're not going to boarding school. They're
I
going to
don't
stay
even know what
right
boarding
home.
school is. Like, what? Like, people always say it in the movies, and I've just, like, never taken the time to go learn what it is, but I'm like, I hear like, what?
So it's basically like you go to a place where like the instead of you being around your parents, there's like dorm teachers and dorm parents that are like and the school structure that functions the way like a parent would. Like so you have like study hall where it's like a certain, between a certain time and a certain time where everyone has to be studying. There's lights out where like after a certain time, like 11 p.m. on the weekends, 10 p.m. on the weekdays where like you have to be in bed. Your room has to be a certain way, otherwise you get points and you can get detention. You are on the weekends, because especially because like some students they're boarding students, but they live like an hour away from home. So sometimes on the weekends they'll go home. But for a boarding student like me that lives, in another country, I'm spending most weekends in school. So they're finding
Yeah.
activities for us to do. They're taking us to the movies, they're taking us to Starbucks. But you spend a lot of times with just like your other peers that are boarding students that are just like hanging around. And there's various reasons people send their kids to boarding school. It's still a phenomenal education. It's a private school. It's,
Mhm.
you're getting set up really, but in terms of emotionally and psychologically, like how, like the reason I would want my kids home is that like I cannot factor for a lot of things about how their peers receive them, how they'll experience the world outside of me, but being able to go home and have a base where like you are loved, you are seen, you are understood. I think of like a lot of the day students, because it was half boarding, half day, that like got to just go home every day, go to their friends and separate from school. There's something important from, you need to be able to leave school. You need to be able to leave that place.
Yeah.
And also like you can't account for what your kid is internalizing. Like I internalized a lot of really awful stuff about myself that when I would go home and talk to my mom, she'd almost like sort of freak out of like, how are you internalizing any? I'm like, I'm spending most of my life with my peers who are not gonna necessarily love me the way a mom is gonna love their kid or give me that grace and space to grow. You like imagine your worst high school day, but you can't go home.
Oh, I
You know
would
what I mean? You
fear.
can't go home. Those are the people that you're around all the time.
That's
So no.
that's crazy because yeah, I think that the people that can go home, like having like the almost like common denominator and like safe landing space, but like
Mhm.
I feel like when you're going or when you're around your peers who are also like developing and having them be your safe landing space, it's so rocky. And I'm sure like so much like shit would be stored. And also I feel like my nervous system would be fucked. Like I feel like I would feel so like out of whack and like
Yes.
disconnected from myself because you don't have that
Yeah.
landing
I
space.
think I was very out of whack. Like I think for me, especially because going to boarding school was my first time in the US. So I was
Yeah.
moving from having not really lived in the US, growing up mostly in a French speaking country in a French culture,
Yeah.
that I didn't fit in by any, like I was the like up until the year before, I had not really been in an English speaking school. I didn't know a lot about American culture. And like your peers aren't like understanding of the fact that you may just be a foreign kid. They just are like, what is this weirdo? Like, what are you?
Like,
And then you become like, at least for my case, like I remember with my friends from high school where when I started, it was more like, oh, we need to correct you because you keep making mistakes. Like you keep making these faux pas. You're not cool enough. You're not saying the right thing. You're not doing the right thing. That I internalized for
oh, that's
over a
terrible.
decade. That I can't trust my own judgment of how people receive me, or that I'm coming across the way that I intend, or that people will give me the grace that maybe I'm just like an odd kid. And I was also going through a lot. I mean, 2 years before that, I found out that my sister was my mom. You know what I mean? And then I moved in with her immediately the next day. Like I was like
Oh,
psychologically unwell as well. So I'd just go off on my own and like go for these long walks, and then I would come back and people would be like, "You just like went out and did stuff without us. Like, when did you ask us that we need to go to the grocery store?" And I couldn't explain at 13 that like I just needed a moment to like think for a second.
oh my
And I think
gosh.
I would just go on these long walks, but then you're just like that weird kid that just keeps going on long walks. You know what I mean? Like it's just that there's so many things that I think now, like that I'm 29, that happened in that school. Like one time, I think this one girl came into my dorm, and I had a bunch of perfumes. Like I love perfumes even back then, and I would like mix it. And she went and told everyone, like, "Do you know? Like she's like mixing potions. It's so weird." Like there were just so many things that because it didn't help that I was odd, I was different, and it was like the lowest hanging fruit, that I was like just the easiest butt of the joke for those 4 years. And I couldn't go home to a safe landing
Oh,
unless it was like Thanksgiving, or and even that has its own complications of like going home was so difficult as well, that I think about the me that was in high school and she just had nowhere to go emotionally, you know?
oh my gosh.
Um yeah, it was like I don't even know how I continued to stay pretty like positive, and like I I'm a pretty lighthearted person, so a lot of things I think I also I kind of protect myself from a lot of the more darker stuff that
Yeah.
a lot of times I was probably even easier to be made into a joke because I'm just not even aware of that they're making fun of me, or that because I'm just protecting myself because it's really not my problem. Like it's not my problem.
It's crazy too, just like the resiliency like you had when you were younger. It's like you'd think that kind of resiliency is something we'd maybe have now, but it's like crazy that you had that then and that you ended up like not being like on drugs or like so far
Yeah,
away
I was
from
more resilient then.
yeah,
Like let me
same.
tell
I'm
you that
like,
right now.
how
I'm
did I
not
do
as
that?
resilient right now.
How did I do that? But that's
If you put me in that situation right now, I'm losing
no,
it.
I actually my my resiliency has gone down. Like, how did I get up and go to school every day? And like now I'm like, I need a nap.
Every day.
I'm tired. I can't do any of this. Like my tolerance is so low
Yeah.
too. Like comparison wise with like people, I'm like, ugh, no, I don't like that.
No.
But that's a lot. And like I can imagine just coming in like feeling like an outlier already with yourself and being in a new space and like having people around you like that
Yeah.
are like I don't know, like uncomfortable with like differences or whatever, and just
Yeah.
how isolating that would feel and how that would probably internalize a lot of like I'm weird and shame and like the American way is
A
like to
lot
really
of
try
it.
to like put you in a box and like change you and
Yes.
make you be a certain way. So I'm sure like it was just oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. And like now
Yeah.
you can know hey, here's how to
Yeah.
trust my voice and like understanding yourself more, but there's no access to that at 13. We don't know. We just think
Absolutely
we're a
not.
problem.
Exactly, and I just held a lot of shame. You nailed it on the head about just me being me, because that's what I learned, that me being me wasn't right. I was always saying the wrong things, and I
Mhm.
internalized that people won't tell me that they feel some type of way about me. So everyone is just harboring the secret that I suck,
Oh,
and that they won't tell me because they feel too scared to tell me. It was kind of the early messages that I got. And so it took me a really long time to trust myself. And I had a recent sort of interaction last year with some friends from high school that made me kind of remember that like people have different perspectives, and that's okay. I think the biggest problem was I was in an environment where everyone had the same kind of messed up perspective. I think I've gone to the point where I kind of have empathy for them being stuck in that mental place that I got to break free of. But that makes me weird to them. That makes me cringy. That makes
mm.
me whatever it is. Because I just don't care about the same things. And I never did, and that was kind of the
Even
problem. I
still?
never cared about looking cute at the football game. I never cared about cotillion and getting a date. I never really like placed a whole lot of worth on that. I was in my room like looking at memes on 9gag and Imgur and laughing to myself, and that made me weird as hell. Let me just tell you that right now. Watching K dramas, like that made me weird as hell, because like that's not what everyone's
Yeah.
watching. And I tried to fit in too. Like I would also watch things that everyone's watching because I wanted to understand why everyone cared about the stuff. And especially because I was made to feel like not caring about what everyone else cared about meant that there was something fundamentally wrong with me and that I was the outlier. But now that I'm older, I understand that like that is the fact that I didn't think the same and that I didn't care about the same things is my gift actually. And I look back now at a lot of people that I went to high school with and a lot of people that I grew up with that still feel and think the same way that we thought and felt in high school, and I don't feel pain anymore for it, I feel kind of almost bad for them. Like you didn't get to break out of that mental cycle. And like you're also a prisoner of your own sort of limited judgment and perception of the world. And I became kind of collateral damage to that for you. And I just hope them peace and the ability to see beyond that and appreciate not just me, obviously, but themselves in terms of just changing that perspective. Because, like I said, like after being 22 and working hospitality, experiencing people from all walks of life, it kind of shattered my reality. It took me years to kind of like grow. And I know that for everyone that thought that way, that thinks that way, the way that I grew up, it would be this very painful metamorphosis that would require them to lose everything that they care about and
Yeah.
understand and think is so important right now. And I don't wish that on anyone like unwillingly, you know? So it's kind of like I feel a lot more compassion for them now than pain or anger, which was what I felt a long time. Just like
Yeah.
it didn't help me be so angry. And it also like, it wasn't my shame to hold. It was them projecting their shame onto me. And I was just not feeling the same level of shame that they felt, you know?
Yeah. And that
So,
makes sense too with
yeah.
like you doing so much like unshackling and like on like healing after that that your mindset was changed, but like not everybody goes on that path like because it's hard. Like it's hard to do all that work and like
Yes.
find yourself later and like heal. Like some people just stay where they are because they didn't do that because but they're both hard. They're both hard choices.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the way that I see it too. Of like the way that I now see my journey is not everyone had the opportunity to fail so spectacularly and have to drag themselves up. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times, maybe too much comfort can really be a
Oh,
problem. You know,
yes.
that's why like, you know, you could get all the love and all the support in the world, but that means that you don't make yourself uncomfortable in the ways that you need to grow. And I think for a lot of my peers growing up, that's the biggest sort of thing is that they never had to face themselves the way that I, for better or for worse, had to because I didn't have the same cushions and comfort and, you know, security. And yeah, it's hard either way. I think as we get older, it becomes more and more apparent. You know, I think there's a point once you pass 30 on that it becomes much clearer of like, you know, it's kind of leveling almost, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like
Yeah.
I always connect most to people who have also done like a lot of like work and have had a lot
Yeah.
of like I think when you've had hardship, like even though it's so hard in it, and again, like that resiliency, like I could not do now, but I'm so grateful for. It's like I'm
Yeah.
so like thankful for all of that. Like I would never want to go back,
Yeah.
but I like it's made me like cheesy as it is, it's made me who I am. And it's made me like see the world differently.
Yeah.
And I used to be so jealous of the
Yeah.
people who didn't have to experience maybe some of the things that I've had to experience. But then I'm like, oh, like
Yeah.
I think it's also made me do this and connect differently.
Yeah.
So
I would take this anytime just because the depth at which I can relate to people, and also I would never have had the level of insight that I feel like I've been that is the gift that you get
yes.
almost for going through all that pain,
Yeah.
you know? And the level of connection I can have with people. I would go through it to see the world as it really
Mhm.
is and not the shadows because yes, there's so much comfort with never having to like, you know, be burnt and hurt and feel like the world is not what you thought it was and everything's an illusion. It's a hard place to get
Mhm.
to. However, I would rather get there than not.
Me too. The transformation is
Yeah.
crazy. To also like feel in yourself such a different world. It's like crazy to I don't know. It's crazy to change and become that because you become so confident and rooted in
Yeah.
yourself and your own voice because you've healed from so much stuff and it
Yes.
feels like it feels so good to get to. Yeah.
Yeah. It truly, I
But
mean, it truly
yeah.
does.
Do you
Yeah.
feel like so from your early 20s to now, what has been like the kind of I don't know, like path and like becoming of who you are. I know you had a crazy like last year or two, last year, right?
Hmm.
Um, But
Mhm.
this is
Just
this
this
year,
year.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, it's freaking crazy. But yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
curious about, like, your walk from, like, early 20s and struggling with
Mhm.
yourself to kind of you seem to be in a very rooted and confident place, even though I'm sure you still have places you want to arrive to. You seem to be in a place that you
Mhm.
maybe were not previously.
Yeah, I would say I think my early to mid 20s were the most kind of like I see them as like I made a lot of mistakes. You know, I made a lot of mistakes because a lot of the things that I never faced in my teens, starting from moving in with my mom slash my sister a day after finding out to being to this place, that place, things happened so fast up until my early to mid 20s, where it was the first time I think for a long time, since I was 12 years old, that I had any form of like, I'm here for a while, I'm not going anywhere, that everything just came crashing down and I made every mistake under the sun. You know what I mean? And it was then in my mid 20s that I just had to slow myself down and face everything head on. And as someone who has an internal locus of control, like meaning I internalize everything, I never blame other people for anything that happens to me. I had to learn to start blaming other people. I had to learn to start to separate what was me taking on other people's shame and internalizing it and making it my own. And sometimes people just being the culprit as well and trying to hurt you and seeing something in you that you don't see in yourself and taking advantage of that. And I put so much weight on myself from a young age over things that I had no control
Mm.
over. You know, the men that were taking advantage of me and being like, wow, how could you not realize that those men were in their
Oh
30s,
my
baby?
gosh.
Now that I'm
That
29,
is
I'm like,
yes. Oh, I know.
okay.
I've dated a yeah.
You know what I
Yep.
mean? How easy is it to mess with a 21-year-old? You know what I mean? Like, come on. But I'm thinking, seeing you be like, what is wrong with me that I'm getting messed over with like a 30-year-old that like,
Yeah,
well, yeah.
exactly. Yep.
Um, the people that took advantage of me, especially in the DC area, I have no family in the US. So I also grew up, a lot of my experience in the US felt like I was overcoming things alone. Um, Obviously, there were moments here and there that I did get help, but it was all usually kind of financial. Like when it came to like emotional safety, I had to be that for myself. I'm happy that I learned it. You know, I think that's where everyone should get to, where they are their own safety really, and knowing when and how to reach out to other people and outsource the things that you can't really fully do for yourself. But I got to that through clawing. Okay, I remember when I first got to therapy, I told my therapist, I'm drowning. I just need to hold on to a life raft and start to kind of get my bearings. And now after 4 years, she's like, we built a boat and we're sailing.
Yes.
You remember when you were drowning, you didn't even have a life raft. You know what I mean? And now we built a whole boat of a foundation of who you are that you can always go back to. No one, like, you're not going to be so shaky anymore because you've built that foundation, which sometimes people, you know, when you have parents that can help you with that, that's the most ideal. But a lot of people have to build that boat metaphorically, you know, of who they are for themselves. And my 20s was that, like, who am I through all the noise and all the things that people have said about who I am, through the shame and the judgment and people's perceptions, people that don't love me or care about me, but they just want to see me a certain way. And even realizing, even if I am someone that is quote unquote unlovable, like I had convinced myself of, do I deserve to be treated badly because of it? Do I deserve these awful things that people have done to me? Because I used to justify it like, well, I'm weird, I'm annoying, I'm these things, so maybe it makes sense that people will treat me badly. I guess that is one's plight for being annoying and for being different and for being not exactly what I'm supposed to be. But then I was like, would you treat someone badly just because you were
No.
annoyed by them or just because you didn't vibe with them? You know, you just move on and and keep it pushing. And there was so much decluttering that I had to do in my 20s. And I would say if I could pick one sort of theme for it, it was just like uncoupling what is me,
Mm.
what is truly me and my essence, and what is all the other residue that I had picked up from over the years that had nothing to do with me,
Oh.
like absolutely nothing to do with me, you know? And then building the foundations of who I really am once I tuned everyone out. Like, who am I really? and not the projections of other people's stuff. And once I started doing that, it caused a ripple effect in my life,
Do you
let's
feel
just
like you
say.
I feel like when that
Yeah.
happens though, like and I'm sure, like, you feel like you lose people and, like
Oh my god, I blocked like so many people. But not even just that, like people just don't
Yes.
gel with you in the same way
Yeah,
anymore.
but
It's
you
just it
can't
happens.
stay, like, sick or, like, unhealthy or
No.
just not yourself for the sake of other people liking
No.
you because at one point too, when you get to know yourself to the level of what you have, like, it doesn't really soothe anything or feel good to have people that you don't connect with still in your life. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just I think for me too, particularly because I had justified so much poor treatment towards me, that it became apparent that I had accumulated a lot of people in my life that just low-key hated me.
Yep. Yep.
And that was
Actually
something
so
else, let me tell
sad.
you.
But yeah, because it's like
But like couldn't admit to themselves that that was just it. Like it, like you know what I mean. And when you're around people you don't love yourself and they low key hate you, you think that you deserve the hate because you're just not to a certain standard or you're not up to par, and so that is just your plight to be the hated one. But it's like you start to then take a step back of like, would you be around people that you don't like? Like I actively friendship break up with people that I know that I can't get along with, and it's weirdly
it is. I've
unpopular.
had so many. It's
Who would
I'm like, it's
prefer?
active,
Yeah,
but it's such an interesting
yeah.
thing because it's like when we don't like ourselves and we attract people that don't like us, and then that also then it, like, keeps going back and
Mhm.
forth, and they confirm to us that we shouldn't like ourselves, and then we hate ourselves more, and then it keeps
Exactly.
going, and then we keep bringing in people like that, and it's like it's so
Yeah.
it's so interesting. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I think late 20s is being around people that, for the first time in my life, that actually like me.
God.
No, I mean it was actually so shattering to kind of realize that like, and I can't even blame anyone for that. Like I just hated myself, and it translated in the relationships I kept. I'm sure there were people as I was growing up that genuinely liked me, but I wasn't even like
Aware?
I wouldn't even have hung out with me back then. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't primed for those people to see me and take me seriously either. If I was someone that was genuinely good and was genuinely compassionate and kind and caring at that time in my life, and I met me, I would just meet the me that's so unhealthy and so not in aligned with herself. And I wouldn't have hated her, but I would have kept a distance, you know? And so I needed to grow to a place where I not just love myself, but accept who I am with no illusions of who I think I am. And that has allowed me to attract people that see me too. And that I don't have to perform to stay around me, that I don't have to make myself smaller for them to be more comfortable with me. And that I don't have to justify and rationalize and overthink around. You know, it's even made my anxiety lessen. You know, I don't have as much anxiety as I did,
Yeah.
you know, back then. But I mean, it's I think you know a lot of people always talk about growing healing is cutting off all those people, but healing might be you realizing that you not a single soul has ever liked you up until that moment because you didn't like yourself up
That's
until
so
that
hard.
moment.
It's not good. It's like but I think it's cool that you even though it's, like, so painful, like, you had that time to really, like, get to know yourself and, like yourself without
Yeah,
having other people to affect that in a way that you could, like, now like yourself and attract the right people. Because if you didn't go through that, you wouldn't
yes,
probably attract who you attract now.
absolutely not. I think that for since everything happened at the beginning of this year, I think the universe has been like realigning me back to where I was supposed to actually have always been, and I was straying further and further away from my true path. And now I've only been here for a month and 2 weeks. More has happened for me personally and professionally in this almost 2 months that I've been here than in the how many years was I in the US? I've met people that I automatically connect with. I've met people that see me so clearly that I'm like, oh, I'm not hard to understand. No one actually really cared to uncover me, you know? And I had a conversation with a man where it didn't go any further than that, but just in a conversation with him, he was just kind of like, you're not difficult to understand. I don't think anyone just even like tried because I feel like you're pretty easy to get. And I'm like, so no one's ever liked me. Is what you're saying.
But yeah.
Thank you for confirming that for me.
That is literally amazing though. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like were you scared to move there though? Because I feel like or have everything like changed and now you're like, "Oh, wait, it's actually not that bad." But I feel like so much has happened that you probably weren't expecting it to be. Yeah.
I think I numbed out like in
Mhm.
mid August because I was,
Mhm.
immediately after I lost my job, that Friday I
Yeah.
started working in a restaurant. Thank God for them, and it was like, it just so happened that I had this connection and it worked out and I was able to, although it was really hard and I was working a lot of things also happened. Like I had a roommate slash friend who something really awful happened where it revealed that, I mean, she also admitted that she never liked me, which was fun. We lived together for 3 years. I was like, oh, I thought we actually, that was my bad. And I had to like sit with myself and be like, am I just like, is it hard for people to tell me stuff? Like, what am I giving off that? But it wasn't me. Like, I mean, sometimes for some people, it's like a thing of convenience and they'll just suck up things, but they don't actually like you and they'll pretend really well.
That's
But
crazy.
that had to happen so I could leave because we were living in an apartment that
Mhm.
my mom owns. And so having her move out kind of opened up the gates of like, okay, do we stay in the US? Is this the moment that we decide, okay, like let's cut our losses, and head out? And so there was a conversation there, and when we had the conversation to when I left, it was like a month and a half. So it was so fast, and it wasn't so scary in the sense because I've been to the Netherlands like every year for the past 5 years visiting my family. I think for me it was more of like oh, I'm 29, I'm moving home, and that home is the Netherlands because that's where my mom lives right now. And having to now face a lot of stuff that I had run away from when it comes to my relationship with my mother. And but with my therapist and I, like kind of us coming to a point with our, sessions of like, this is kind of low key what you've been training for this whole time, actually. So she's like, you know who you are. You're clear on that person. I know it feels hard to go to an environment that will trigger the hell out of you, but this is how you know that you've grown is when you go back to these kind of triggering environments and you expose yourself to things that will test how much
Mhm.
work you've actually done. And so it's so funny because I thought it was actually going to be much more difficult than it's been. Um, I thought it was going to be much harder. I was much more like bracing for impact. And like I said, it's been a month and 2 weeks, and I found a studio. I've been making friends. I've been meeting people, and I feel like when you're aligned, whether it doesn't even make sense to you. It doesn't even seem like where you've been building up to. I was gonna go to law school and be working safe with the children. At this, like, that was supposed to be my life right now. I had gone into law school. I took the outside. I did everything.
Amazing, crazy.
And I kind of just like realized now that once it was gone, I felt almost relieved that I no longer had to keep swimming upstream, which is what I was doing for so long because I didn't even know, you know. But then I came here and everything just started happening so quickly. I'm meeting these people, they're making sense, they're connecting with me, just, and I'm just like having these serendipitous moments, and I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know what I don't know, and that is kind of the theme right now, of like almost like I thought I had so much more control over things. I thought I understood things so much better. And going out into the world and experiencing things that are making me uncomfortable, testing the limits of my comfort zone, is teaching me so much more than years of therapy and sitting home and talking about it ever will,
Yeah.
and showing me how far I've come, how much I've grown, who I'm becoming. And it's definitely been something that I've needed. And I'm as uncomfortable as I still feel, and I will probably be for a while. I'm so grateful that I
Mhm.
got back on track. Whatever that track, wherever it's leading to, I now understand that I'm a lot more aligned than I've been
Is
in
the
a long
lawyer
time.
thing no more? Like, are you
Yeah.
oh, it still is.
It still is. It still is, but I can't. So the application process
Mhm.
starts like this month actually, and I would
Okay.
have to go next year. So the whole other reason I've come to the Netherlands too is because the type of law I want to do, the courts
Okay.
are in the Hague.
So you kinda have
So
this,
I was
like,
like, maybe I should.
waiting a holding
Yeah.
period to, like, kinda, like, get settled and, like
Exactly, like
oh
make
my
you know start my own
gosh.
business, like kind of do my immigration process and like do this. It's giving, and also my mom is kind of like, why are you doing this whole law school thing? Like you have a master's degree, like just maybe use that. And I'm like, I've known only instability since I graduated. I mean, you probably relate to me too, that I think many of us are holding on to a lot of things because like I thought I had law school and my job at the beginning of this year and I was doing TikTok on the side. Now all I have is TikTok. Can you have
It's
predicted that?
all I have is TikTok.
And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like the thing that I was like kind of making money with on the side that people were kind of clowning me for is the only thing I have left that's making me money. How could you have predicted that? No. So until someone shows me a clearer path, until the universe materializes something that is genuinely lucrative for me, I am keeping all of my cards together, and I'm throwing
All
all the
of
darts at the
them.
wall. And law school has been something that I've wanted for a long time. I just couldn't afford to do the application process and start
Oh,
like law school application, let alone going to law school is so cost prohibitive, which is its own conversation, that the moment I could afford it, I did. I invested in the courses, I invested in everything. And it might be a sign that that's not my path. It might be a sign that but I will continue until the
I need to make
things
it
are
so clear.
abundantly clear that the
I think it's good to
yes,
have that, like, North Star
um
just, like, not even, like, for it to be the end goal, but, like, having a
yes.
steered path and then, like, something to, like otherwise, I feel like the
Yeah,
path doesn't have a path. Like, even if it's towards the wrong thing, it's something.
exactly. It's still towards something that on
Exactly.
the way you'll find the thing. You know what I mean? Like I think yes, exactly. Like the way that I see it is even if that's not my path, it's
Yes.
keeping me structured and focused. It's keeping me hungry. It's keeping me alert that what my path ends up being, like you can't go wrong if you're just keeping at it. And a lot of people have been making me feel like it's just
Oh.
like just stick to one thing and blah blah blah. And I'm like, if I
I
had
would
done
have
that,
nothing,
I
just
would have
TikTok.
nothing right
You're like,
now.
"Just
So
TikTok, babe." Yeah, no, I think
yeah.
that's so smart, and honestly, like, there's so many
Yeah.
different ways it could go, like, you could have that be, like, a financial stability piece, but you're doing this stuff, it could be your whole world, it could end up being not something you wanna do at
Exactly.
all, but it doesn't really matter, not
Exactly.
that it doesn't matter, but I feel like I'm sensing just, like, you're looking for just, like, a rich life and a fulfilling life that, like, wherever it comes from, does it really matter as long as you are, like, living out your purpose and, like, doing the thing that you love, like, you're gonna find it no matter
Exactly.
what. So
Exactly. And I can't imagine that I'm
no.
someone that would only do one thing for 40 years.
No.
You know what I mean? I would always have a side thing. I would always have other things that I'm doing. Like I'm a bippin' and boppin' type of
Yeah.
person, you know what I mean? And so there's just no way that even if I, do law school, like law school would
Yeah.
not be my only thing. It would be, and I'm also at a place where I'm allowing things, the chips to fall
Yeah.
as they may, kind of where like, yes, I have my general structure of a plan, but life has taught me, especially this year, that you can't plan anything. You can't anticipate anything. And we are in this sort of like time also globally of a lot of restructuring of things. When I was leaving, actually, I was talking to my old boss slash, you know, supervisor person, and he was kind of like, the rules are not the same anymore. They're not the same as they were when I
No.
was growing up at the very least. And so it's hard to even
I know.
predict really the
I
next
know.
five
Even
years.
having, like,
And
kids or any of that stuff, I'm like, I can't think about that until I'm at that point and I'm seeing what the state of the world is
yeah,
in. So
exactly. Exactly. And also like when I'm in that point in my life, it will make sense I'm in that point in my life. Like I don't need to like force it. Like I know that as I'm doing things are coming to me and making sense
mhm.
because I'm just allowing them to be while also having a general direction. But it's like you do need to leave
Yes.
yourself open for where life is taking you as well, and just I know that anything that I do, anything that I embark on, and I think you do need to have that trust in yourself of like no matter what comes at me, like
I
I
got it.
can do
Yeah.
it, I can handle it, because I have. so, so I know that whatever I do, I'll put in my
Oh,
150% into it
same.
because that is my personality. Um, but whatever it is, like it will happen, and I think all I can do right now is allow myself that openness, and I've been forcing myself to be open and going out of my comfort zone and doing things that are just naturally kind of just I don't fully understand why I'm
Feels
doing
good.
it, but it's just in my
It's
gut. It
kinda
makes
crazy
sense,
because like, I feel like life just the way that it, like, aligns us and puts us where we need to be as long as we just are, like, moving forward towards what we think is the next thing. It's like, you would have never
Exactly.
thought probably that you'd be here right now doing what you're doing, like, a few years ago. Like, that's how
Nope.
life could get so like, that is actually so
No.
crazy of life to be like, a few years ago, like, you were different, like, you weren't even in this country, like, the fact that you're doing such different things now is just, like, proof that life is always gonna, like, bring
Yeah.
you where you need to be brought, and that openness will get you somewhere even though we want
Yeah.
to, like, control everything and know, it's like but, like, how would you have ever known that this is where you'd
Yes.
be? Like, I just
100%. There's actually this movie that I watched
yeah.
at a pivotal time in my life that really helped me. This I don't remember the name, but it was this movie where there's like the movie goes in
Oh,
two different ways
yes.
this girl's
Yes,
life
I
could
know
have gone.
exactly what movie you're that was a
You know exactly what I'm talking
yes,
about.
I know what movie
Yes. That movie, I mean, to this
wait,
day,
wasn't one where she gets is one with
shook
the guy or are they both with
shook.
the guy? I forget that
No,
yes.
one is like she has the baby and like she stays, and the other one is that she doesn't have the baby, she's not pregnant, and so she's able to like
Same
move on.
place.
But then she ends up to the same place at the end. And it's like that movie was like it cured my
Mental
my
yeah.
choice paralysis that you get of like
Mhm.
thinking that you're gonna make the wrong decision. And that movie was like, no matter what decision you make, you're gonna get to what your path
Ugh,
is.
I was thinking about the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. If you don't know if you've seen that. That movie, like, effed my
Yes,
brain,
I
like,
know
I
that one
literally
too.
was like
I
but just seeing,
love
like, that was a little bit of a different lesson, but every version of life is, like has its own
Mhm.
struggle, and it has its own gift and version of kinda the same thing.
Yes.
Um, yeah.
Yes. I feel like that theme was like because I also
Mhm.
read this book around the same time. I'm trying to remember the name, but it was about parallel universes as well, where like the main character is trying to
Yeah.
end their life, but before this happens, this kind of like extra dimensional being is showing them the different like ways that their life could have gone if they made different decisions, and they're going into all these lives, and that's kind of what the protagonist is learning of like no matter what life I went into, something was missing. And
Yes,
then they
yes,
decide to go
yes,
back to
that's what I
actually
was
their
saying,
original life
exactly.
and not end their
Like, that's why you have to just be
yes.
grateful for what you have, because like, I have those moments, I'm like my mom and I always laugh, like, I get in my dancer phases where I'm, like, watching a ton of dance movies, and I'll start taking dance classes, and I can't dance, and she's like, "It's coming. Dance phase is coming back." 'Cause I'm like, "I wish I was a dancer another life." I'm like, "What is that?" But I'm like, at the end of
Mhm.
the day, like, this is the
Um,
life that you've been given and the version of life, and it probably is the one that I come back to because
yes.
it's the one that um I don't know. Like, even though it's been so hard in so many points, like, I feel like I've fallen in love with what it means to be me and what it means to create this, even if it's so
Yes.
imperfect and confusing a lot of the time. Yeah.
All of them would have been, I think, confusing and imperfect. And the way that I see it, what really helps me is this like spiritual idea that we make a
Ugh,
contract before we come to this life, and we don't know the full
mhm.
extent of the life and how it goes, but you're experiencing these painful moments. You think to
No,
yourself, no
literally
way I chose this one. No way. But then the person you become afterwards is like, okay, like I think I had a different wisdom as a soul about what needs to happen to etch my
mm,
soul closer to who I need to be. And it just manifested in this like material world as a lot of pain,
yeah.
maybe. And I can't see the bigger picture other than what is happening right in front of me. But I just trust that I'm protected. I do have the path out there for me. And I think we all are. I think it's just about trusting that and trusting what comes up. I think, I think for me right now, what's my North Star other than this like conceptual plan that I have is does this feel good? Does this make sense to me? Is this making me feel uneasy or do I feel more comforted by the feeling? And I think if you use that as your
No,
North
I know.
Star, I
I'm
think you'll be
like
fine.
laughing while you're
Yeah.
talking because I was like, I feel like God got bored when he created me because he was like, what's another idea of a person? I want her to be a podcaster, but I also want her to like want to be a makeup artist. And I'm like, I don't understand. He got
Yeah.
bored, but I am grateful because I'm like, yeah, eh, all the
Yeah.
stuff when I was in, and I'm sure you feel this way too, just like it made no sense and it was so hard for so many
Yeah.
years. And all the internal stuff, like I'm grateful to have been able to be aware enough to be like, this
Yeah.
needs healing and I need to go
Yeah.
figure this out. And I need to even though it was years of pain, like, I don't know if you feel this way in your body now, but like I sit here and like I feel like
Yeah,
aligned in my body, and I feel like generally like a sense of
me
clearness
too.
in my body. Like there's not so much like shit
Yeah,
and like stuff weighing me down. Like,
a
and
hundred-
even things that bother me or hard, I'm like the version of myself that knows how to deal with
yes,
them where I didn't before. And I know
a
I got it,
hundred
you know?
percent. I mean, life will always throw things at you, but yeah, like not having it filter through shame and guilt and all these other heavier things that weigh
Mm-hmm.
you down. I think, yeah, like you, at least for me, I've definitely started to recognize that for myself as I've worked on my shame and guilt of like, I don't self sabotage
Yeah.
anymore. I'm
So
not betraying myself. I'm not finding myself in these situations that I used to be like, why did you do that? And how did we even find ourselves here? Because I don't have that like heaviness. You know, I'm more kind of happy with the decisions I make, like subconsciously. My gut is more aligned because I had to kind of first work through a lot of stuff that was making me not act in my highest self, not making me make the best decisions or think clearly because I will say this on blue in the face, like your like if anything, your first and like singular focus should be to like declutter the mess and the noise that the world
oof,
has put onto you before you can achieve
yes.
any of your goals to the highest form of yourself. Like it's not about just
Woo.
like keep on keeping on. It's about what's going on inside, clean it up a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, work through it
Cleaning.
to the best of your ability, and then you don't even have to force it. The things that are making sense for you will just come. Like you won't say the stupid thing, you won't abandon yourself, you won't find yourself being like, why did I do that, you know, because you don't have this underlying stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
My mom always would say to me, like, when I was like 22, I was like, I'm ready for my husband. I'm ready for my person. Like, they're coming now, mom. Like, I'm gonna get married like you did. Like, I'm ready. And
Okay.
she'd be like, she'd always tell me, she'd always be like, you're not ready. You're not ready. And I literally would always be like, no, mom, I'm ready. And we'd get in fights. I would get so mad at her. I was like, I'm ready. And it's so, this is such a bad analogy, but like, looking at it through the lens of dating is like how I would look through the lens of
Yeah,
anything. But like that version of myself, like what was covering my gut instinct and my alignment and what I'd create maybe now, or even in a future version of me that's more aligned that I
yeah,
am now, like that version of me would pull people from shame or from my
yeah.
stuff. So it wasn't really mine. It was another lesson to help me heal
Yes,
that
exactly.
stuff. So now I'm like, Mom, do you think I'm ready? She's like, You're almost there, hun. I think you're
Oh,
almost there. I'm like, cool.
I love that.
But like, I just think that's with everything. It's like when the people you choose, the things you choose, the life you
Yeah,
choose out of that, I think is just, it's more mirrors of the lessons you need to learn until you have learned them.
exactly, exactly. That I think is like I'm just so much more at peace with myself. I have much less anxiety than I used to have. Oh my god, I genuinely thought that I had like severe psychological ailments that really all I had to do was fix the shame, fix the guilt, get rid of people that were
Oh,
siphoning my literal life force to realize that I'm actually fine.
yeah.
Like I don't have BPD. Like I'm actually
So
fine.
literally, not siphoning the life force, but literally, I'm like,
Yeah,
I literally thought that my life was like being in the self development space. I was like, I'm gonna find out what's wrong with me and I'm gonna
exactly.
fix it. And I learned everything, hence which I can speak to a lot of things
Yes,
now, which is cool. But then I was like, I just did that because I had shame, and the
exactly.
only thing I needed to heal fix was the shame, because when you work with that, then you don't have like the mission to fix yourself, because you can just be yourself and you can.
Exactly. Like if you feel like you have to fix yourself, that you have this problem that needs to be worked on, it's just shame, babe. It's
Yeah,
just
where
shame,
even is
babe.
it? Where even is the
Yeah.
problem? I'm like,
Yeah.
it's in the air. It's
Yeah.
like you can't find
Yeah.
it because it's you, no matter. I read every book, dude.
I
I
did
was
all
like,
the
what is it? What is
tests:
it? What is
Myers
it?
Briggs, the human design,
Oh yeah,
astrology, the disc,
the autism
emotional
test,
intelligence
everything.
assessments.
I I literally was like, and I sit here and I know so much about myself, and I'm like,
What do I do with this?
I'm like, is any of that doing anything? Like, I don't know.
Yes.
Like, but yeah,
Yeah.
just healing I mean, you still need to heal from past stuff and all
Yes.
that, but shame and like healing the stuff that's like driving the part of you that thinks something is
Yeah.
wrong, or that is making decisions that aren't really who you
Yeah.
are. It's That's deep.
Yeah. Yeah. I always, people always say, like, what if you had one wish, for the world? People always say, world peace, blah, blah. I would hope for everyone to heal those core wounds. And I think the world would be a better
Oh,
place. Like heal the shame,
oh
heal
my
the
god.
guilt, heal the thing that's like tethering you to such a limited perspective, because the world is so much more beautiful than that. And you just have to like change like how you see things, literally like change your frequency of how like you're processing things, because sometimes it's really just like you're seeing the same thing through new eyes, and that changes the substance of your experience. And it really is just like it's filtering through all of your stuff. And if you can get all the gunk out, you'll see things more clearly, you'll see yourself more clearly. And I wish that for every single human, you know. Yeah.
I know. Kind of my last question is like, what has been, um, like finding who you are
Hmm.
now, or like being where you're at now, 29. What has it been like to like really, I guess, just like now trust yourself and kind of also like clear from some of those societal expectations, pressures, and like really step into like, this is who I am. Like this is me without like doing what the world, the American framework wants from us. This is
Hmm.
what I'm doing now that I trust myself and my voice. Like, I don't know. How do you feel? What has it been like?
I'm definitely still working on that, because I think where I'm at is I recognize that voice that's telling me how far I'm deviating from what I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
I'm in a different place where like I'm just like, okay, sure, I hear you, but like that doesn't seem like me, and that doesn't seem to make sense. I think what's really helped is just, I mean, I think being here in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam specifically, and
Yeah.
seeing just people live life so differently but be so successful, and it being fine, like nothing went wrong, you know, because they're not the CEO by like freaking 45. And it's
Yeah.
shown me that there's so many pathways and avenues that, you know, we can't even imagine, that are
Mhm.
legitimate and that are in some cases more fulfilling. You know, I was talking to a man recently, and I feel like I've just been having people on my path recently that have been giving me what I needed to hear. And he was talking about how, you know, he
Yeah.
was high level executive, he was doing the thing, he was getting calls, but he dreaded the calls from people he was getting. He wasn't happy. And the moment he like threw that all away, he has his own thing, he's more nomadic. His like, yes, other people don't understand why he's living that life, but he doesn't dread a single call. He's genuinely happy with his life. And yes, it doesn't mirror the life that we're told we're supposed to, but it's like, who benefits from you having this template cookie cutter life? It's not you, let me tell you that right now. It's
It's
not
not
your high
you.
self, it's not your joy, it's something else. And what's really been helping me is seeing how much better I feel in the life that I never even imagined for myself or thought that could be mine, and seeing things happen quicker, better, you know, make more sense and feel good for me, that I'm like kind of reverted to, I don't know what I don't know. In fact, I've never known a thing. You know, I've never known a thing. And I think when we have this like caricature and schema of life, is because we think we know it all. You know, we think that, you know, we should have these things. But who, like, first of all, to say that 30 is this like arbitrary, like, there's 40 more years if we're lucky, babe. Why don't we
I
focus on like the
know.
bigger chunk of life?
It's so
You know
dumb.
what I mean?
It's so dumb. Like, why didn't we choose the number to be like
Exactly.
99?
Literally, like, exactly.
Like when we're done.
And there's
It's
just
crazy.
so much that I don't know, and so much that I feel more open to receiving, that maintaining the schema in my head of what I thought things were supposed to be, or who I thought I was supposed to be, life was supposed to be, is so actually like mentally rigid and not natural, as much as we think that that's
Yeah.
natural. It's actually unnatural, and it's such a feature of our conditioning that takes even as I'm aware of it, I'm still deprogramming, you know, just, you know, in many ways. But the more I deprogram and the more I find what about the programming actually makes sense for me, and what about the things that actually feel good, I'm realizing that
Yeah.
we don't know anything. We're just all making it up as we go. And you know, and some people, they, it works out for them, and that seems to be what's good for them. And other people, they get to 45, 50, and they're like, oh, midlife crisis, because what have I been doing this whole time? Because it's not natural. It's not natural to follow a set path that every 8 billion people on this planet follow. That's crazy.
They've tried to make it normal, which is actually so crazy because so many of us abide by it. But I
Yeah.
think now that you kind of know your voice more, you're able to even hear those voices, even
Yeah.
though they're super strong,
Yeah.
and know that they're not
No,
yours.
they're not. And that's, I think, the most important thing for all of us to kind of realizes, or kind of we need to kind of figure out for ourselves, is what is us and what is everyone else that we've picked up along the way. And it
Yeah.
might be a 6-year-old version of you.
It might be that. It
It
might
might
be
be a
the
10-year-old,
version
it might be
of
13, but
yeah.
there's a version of you out there that was unencumbered at some point, and then life happened.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any last thoughts, words you didn't get out that you want to, and yeah, what's next for you? All the things.
I think we said a lot. Thank you. I just want
We
to
said a lot.
thank you for having this conversation. I think you're
Oh my
part
goodness.
of like me realizing how aligned I am. Like I'm aligning to the type of stuff that
Oh,
makes sense for me. Do you know what I mean? Like this is
that makes
exactly my vibe. You know what I mean?
oh my god, that
Um,
makes me so happy.
I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like these are the types of conversations I want to have. You're the type of person that I want to invite you on my podcast, by the way. You're coming, we're talking. I'm interviewing you.
No,
I'm interviewing
stop.
you,
I literally was
okay?
like,
Because
sometimes I meet people and I'm like, wait, I want to be like their like actual friend.
yeah, no, I feel like that's to me is showing that I'm aligned because like those you don't have to force it's like those like moments of like reciprocity and serendipity. Like we were chatting for we could have talked for 2 more hours before we
I
recorded.
literally was like, wait, we gotta start. I was like, we gotta start.
We
You'll
gotta
be so
start actually like we're working right now. But I mean that's
yeah.
like I just feel like when you do all that work, you don't have to worry about it, just will happen. The external stuff will make sense. And I'm just so grateful for all the people that I've been meeting right now that are showing me that I'm actually aligned. Like I'm so like this is all ever wanted. Like this depth of the human experience, the types that like the types of people that share these values that I have, where it's so easy to talk to you because of that, because we're like we get it, like the and
Oh, we get it.
yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
just grateful for all the omens, for lack of a better word, and not in a bad way, that are on my path that are showing me that I'm on the right path.
Oh my
And
god.
what's next for me? My podcast, continuing stuff on
Woo.
TikTok, a YouTube, which I will talk about more in on my account. But just like those are the outward products. The reality is like continuing to find people that I align with, and as I align with them, they will make sense as to what this path. And it's really, I think I'm starting to understand about the people. Like it's not the material stuff, it's not the job, it's not really the money, like that will come. It's about the people that
Mhm.
foundationally the values we share and our sort of like what we want for the human experience are the same. And I think the rest kind of just like comes together. And I'm just going to continue that. I'm just going to continue finding people that align, you know? Yeah.
Mhm. I love that. Well, first I'm gonna include all your information so everyone can like listen, follow, find all the things. But yeah, I totally agree. You have like I don't know if anyone's told you this, but you have like such a strong um just like deep like energy, but it's so much light, like
Thank
it's so
you.
such a pull, like magnetic energy, truly, that like
Thank you.
it's like it truly like our energies create a signal. And even when I saw your stuff, I immediately felt like I need to talk to her. I was like, she has like, I was like, I feel like perfect obviously for the podcast, but I also was like, I feel like I was like, man, I think I like her. It would
Yeah,
be
I think
friends.
we'd be friends. I
Um,
think that's,
no, I'm like, I think we're friends. But it's like such like a signal too. Like when you do your own work and like everything you've done, like
yeah.
you are literally calling in people that recognize you,
Yes.
whereas other people might just be like, I don't get it, flip through and be like,
And that's okay.
not someone I connect with.
Yeah.
But the right people are gonna be like, ooh. Like, and I saw it and I was like, immediately, I was like, I
Yeah.
reached out, like, I saw it and I was like, yep, immediately, like, I knew, and I didn't even have to like dig in that far, like I did, but I was like, I knew within like 2 videos, I was like, think I can just sense, I can sense it so quick, like
Yeah.
a level of who somebody is, and you are just such a like light online and your own voice, and like so
Thank you.
real,
Thank
like
you.
genuinely real to your core, and that is what honestly sets you apart from a lot of the people who are doing this stuff. Like you're just so real and rooted and
Thank
like
you.
learned from life. So I'm just so grateful that I got to talk to you and that you're doing more stuff and you're helping the world more, because like we need that. Like you're
Yeah.
so, again, like just you being so real is going to make it
I
come to
appreciate
a
that.
real
That
life.
was like one of the most validating things I've
Yeah.
heard in a long time. It
I
comes
was just
from
like speaking out of my ass, but I was like, I just gotta say this.
no, but I mean, like I think it came from a lot of pain, as you probably how these things happen, and
Yeah.
to be on the kind of other side of that and seeing that, yeah, like it's comes from a lot of pain and it translates that way, and I'm so grateful that it ended up translating that way. But I'm just, yeah, like I thank you for really making me see that and helping me see that and making me realize that I am exactly where I need to be right now.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you are. Even as an outsider, I'm like, oh, I'm not worried about you at all.
Gosh. Well,
You
I
got
feel
it.
like
Like, I know you.
myself. Yeah.
I'm worried about myself, but I'm not worried about you.
Yeah.
You really are
Thank
doing
you.
great. Like,
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I
thank you.
appreciate that.